Today, at a completely unexpected point, we captured a truly exciting anomaly. There is a disturbance, a change noticeable when looking carefully at the surface soil. This is an area with the size and shape of a grave. However, the interesting thing is that this is not a cemetery area. There are no traces of other graves or historical structure remains in the vicinity. This situation leaves questions in our minds about why this single grave is located in such a secluded place. What kind of secret will this solitary grave whisper to us? We are eagerly looking forward to starting the excavation. We have been working meticulously at this point for hours. We have no idea yet what kind of secret is hidden beneath the soil. That's why we are carefully removing each layer. We are doing our best not to damage any possible findings. What is that? We've come across something. Let's be careful. This is a human foot. Yes, this must be a grave. But the interesting part is that we don't see any trace of another grave around. How can this be possible? Our researcher encountered something made of iron in the area where the person's foot is. To understand exactly what this is, we will need to clear a bit more soil from the grave. This iron piece might help us solve the mystery of this solitary grave. After our researcher cleans the mysterious metal piece next to the first foot, they move on to the other foot. And what is that? There is a metal object there as well. As the soil layer is cleared, it becomes apparent that these two metal pieces are connected to each other by a chain. This is a shackle. The shackle you see is not a simple handcuff. Throughout history, it is a type of iron shackle used to restrict the movement of serious criminals, slaves, or political prisoners. The word pranga is of Italian origin and was commonly used in the Middle Ages and later periods. These types of shackles were not only a tool for punishment, but also designed to prevent the prisoner from escaping. These iron rings, connected by a thick and heavy chain that tightened around the ankles, took away both the person's physical freedom and social status. They marked the individual as someone ostracized and punished by society. This simple grave and shackle, when these two come together, the story completely changes. This person may not be an innocent buried with a simple grave gift, but a criminal. And perhaps that's why the family might have made the grave in such a desolate place to hide it from everyone. This finding shows that the story of this grave is much darker than we thought. In our mysterious journey into the depths of the grave, we encounter an even more surprising truth at every step. Our field researcher has now come across a dagger hilt in the area where the heart of the skeleton is. What is that? Yes, this is a dagger. This dagger makes the story of this discovered grave more interesting by the minute. It could be a criminal, a slave, or a political prisoner with shackled feet. However, being buried with a dagger so cruelly and personally stabbed into the heart is a completely different situation. Who was so full of hatred that they not only captured him but also killed him with a dagger? Was this dagger a tool of revenge or an execution? While the shackle indicates he was a criminal, the dagger in his heart suggests his death was not a simple punishment, but perhaps the result of deep anger or a tragic betrayal. The story of the grave becomes a bit more complex with each finding. Our field researcher has now come across a series of bracelets on the skeleton's arm. The presence of these bracelets is truly surprising. The presence of jewelry on someone whose feet are shackled and a dagger is stabbed into their heart deepens the mystery of this grave. Normally, valuable items would be taken from a criminal or a slave. So, why were these bracelets left behind? Perhaps the killer had a special reason to ignore these bracelets. Or do these bracelets indicate that he is not really a criminal as we thought, but has a completely different identity? Let's see what other oddities and contradictory findings this mysterious grave will reveal to us. As every square centimeter of the grave is cleaned, its secrets deepen further. Our field researcher is now cleaning the skull and encounters a rather eerie fact. The upper teeth have been removed, but the lower teeth remain intact. This suggests that this person might have been tortured in their final moments. A new finding is added to the storyline. Despite the harsh life and cruel death, there is a necklace preserved on the skeleton's neck. While the presence of this jewelry points to a personal identity, it continues to contradict other findings. But what truly surprises us is something else. As we continued the analysis of the findings inside the grave, we determined that the bracelets we found earlier were actually women's bracelets. However, the general structure of the skeleton indicates that this person is male. This is indeed very interesting. In archaeology, we rarely encounter such contradictory findings. A man bearing signs of torture, shackles on his feet, a dagger stabbed into his heart, and wearing women's jewelry. This grave may not be of a single person, but perhaps evidence of a much more complex story. We will continue to work with our team of archaeologists to solve this mystery. Don't worry, we will not abandon the story of this grave. The findings inside the grave are becoming more contradictory and surprising by the minute. Our field researcher has now found a golden cup on the left side of the skeleton. This is not an ordinary item. It resembles a goblet used in celebrations and special ceremonies, where everyone tastes wine from a common cup. This situation raises even more questions in our minds. A criminal shackled, tortured, stabbed in the heart. He carries women's bracelets and now possesses a golden goblet of the kind a hero or someone of high status would use. How can all these contradictions come together in a single person? One of our latest findings in the tomb is this broken pottery shard. Normally, placing an object with its integrity compromised as a grave gift is not a known tradition. However, the entire story of this grave is already outside the known. This pottery and all the other conflicting findings lead us to a single conclusion. The person lying here was not a simple criminal, but a high-ranking commander or statesman who fell into the hands of enemies. This shackle is not like those used for ordinary criminals. As can be understood from its craftsmanship and quality, it was specially made for an important captive. The lock of the shackle was broken and could have been easily removed during the burial if desired. But it wasn't done that way. The dagger stabbed into his heart was also deliberately left in his body, because according to the beliefs of that period, being wounded in battle or captured was like a badge, a medal for the afterlife. This shackle and dagger were a badge proving that he was not a defeated man, but a hero, showing how bravely he resisted even if he fell into enemy hands as a prisoner of war. This grave proved that history is not only about victories, but sometimes the greatest heroics end in the most tragic ways. These bracelets whisper a different story. These pieces of jewelry were not just simple ornaments. They were perhaps a farewell gift left in the grave by a spouse. Or it was a symbol of the gratitude and love felt for him by the people for whom he sacrificed his life. This grave was not only evidence of captivity and murder, but also a monument to love, loyalty, and the respect of a nation for its sacrificing commander. These bracelets prove that he was not only a hero, but also someone who was greatly loved. And finally, the last piece of this tragic yet heroic story. On the left side of our warrior, this gold-plated goblet stands shining like proof of victory. This goblet was not an ordinary drinking vessel. It was a symbol of victory and shared success. Perhaps they placed this goblet beside him to celebrate his victory in the other world, where he would celebrate with his comrades after the war. This goblet, contrasting with the shackle and dagger, shows that this person was not only a tragic captive, but also the owner of a great victory. This grave tells a story where death, victory, captivity, and heroism are intertwined. Each item buried with him, a badge, a medal, and a symbol, whispered who he was and what kind of life he lived. These findings showed us that even if this commander was physically defeated, his spirit and heroism would live on forever. They could kill him, but they could never erase his victory and memory.